It's a wild and woolly day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Modern Horizons 3 has serious issues we need to talk about. Secret Lairs are failing miserably. Wizards of the Coast is leading more into AI than ever, and GameStop is selling 50-cent Magic cards for $120. Magic. History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another juicy installment of Mega Magic News. Not only do we have the Modern Horizons, the AI, the Secret Lair stuff, the game stuff to talk about, but on top of that, there are redesigns going on under the hood of Magic the Gathering, and we've got some Secret Lair bonus action to talk about. So let's actually start out with the redesign aspect. As a result of Wizards of the Coast putting out an article talking about Modern Horizons 3, specifically about the Eldrazified Siege Gang Commander, it has come to our awareness that there is a Goblin redesign guide. So this has never been mentioned in Magic's history up until now, but when you take a look at Siege Gang Commander and you take a look at the Eldrazi version of the Siege Gang Commander, this new one was done under the auspices of the changing design of goblins. Now, it looks like the big change is mainly to just take their big fat honking noses and shrink them down. And as a big-nosed man myself, I find it offensive. Actually, I don't really care. I find it interesting and a little bit strange that they're specifically mentioning to their artists, yo, we've changed the way goblins work. And I don't know why you would want to go ahead and shrink their noses down. It's kind of part of what defined goblins as far as I was concerned. A lot of goblins had the big pointy goofbag noses and exaggerated features, right? Bigger ears and stuff like that. So they haven't come out and said why this redesign happened. There has been no public declaration of it, but I thought it was an interesting little tidbit. Now, let's move on to the Secret Lair bonus cards. I've got two to show you. One is for the Miku Secret Lair. This is the Elvish Mystic. It's kind of funny to see a human on an elf card, but what are you going to do, right? Obviously, they just wanted to pick some cards they felt would fit Miku's nature and art, but also not put too much reprint value in there, so Elvish Mystic hits that sweet spot for them. The flavor text on it says, both music and nature can blossom anywhere. And I have to admit, I do love the whole, hey, check it out, we've got a wide-eyed wanderer who's surrounded by bumblebees, beautiful nature, and little fey creatures as well. So that works for me. The other bonus card doesn't work as well for me. That is the Spiteful Prankster. The artwork, of course, is pretty solid, right? Buddy setting the robes on fire. It's got the right kind of vibe to it. But this is from that Comic Sans Secret Lair that I, and apparently a lot of people, do not like. And this card bothers me on a couple of different levels. The Comic Sans is annoying. The fact that it doesn't have actual rules text, where instead of saying your, it says you are, which is just, I do not appreciate that. It does make me wonder if the target that they misspelled on the previous card was intentional and they went with Target. And then there's the flavor text where it says April Fools, which very much confirms that this was originally supposed to be an April Fool's Secret Lair being sold on its own, but Wizards of the Coast bundled it with other Secret Lairs in an attempt to sell more of the stuff, honestly, right? So we'll cover that more when we move on to the Secret Lair aspect of this video. And actually, why don't we just tackle that next now that I think about it? So with the Secret Lair Super Drop that Wizards of the Coast has just released, it has gone abysmally in terms of sales, okay? So when they originally put the Secret Lair out a month ago, people basically rushed in to buy the Hatsune Miku Secret Lair. It sold out on an insane level. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it took about an hour at most for it to be gone. Just you couldn't get it anymore, right? But every other Secret Lair languished. The whole promotion, basically, if you haven't been keeping up with what's going on with Secret Lairs, Wizards of the Coast has noticed a diminishing returns from them. They used to go print to demand, and they used to release them more individually. But because people weren't buying enough of them, they said, okay, let's go the FOMO route where we try and make them afraid of missing out, and we'll limit how many we're going to make. So it's like, well, if you don't get it right away, you miss out. And that is what happened with the Miku lair. But ultimately, all the other layers sat there and just went, meh, okay. And another problem with that actually is when you sell out one of the layers right away, that means you can't sell bundles anymore, right? So if it's like, I want to bundle all these secret layers together, you can't because the Miku one is gone. So you have that problem with the super drop. You have the issue as well that the promo they were going to include, the Seedborn Muse, was insanely limited quantities, I mean. And so there, I don't know about the quality level. Considering the current quality issues with Wizards, it's probably not going to be that great either. But the issue we're talking about here is quantity, right? So Wizards didn't make too many of these available. The number of people posting going, wait, did I not get this card included as part of my order? I ordered $200 worth of stuff because you had to order 200 US worth of stuff before taxes to get this Seedborn Muse. But it also had to be included as a line item in your order. And if it wasn't, you don't get it. So there's a bunch of people who have been burned by that, and that is a really bad situation for Wizards because they want people buying these Secret Lair super drops going forwards, and they're really going to need to reconfigure things. Hatsune Miku selling out originally does augur well for the 3 more Secret Lairs that we're going to get of that nature, because when they released the first one, they said this is one of 4. It's not 100% clear whether it's going to be 4 actual Hatsune Miku Secret Lairs, or whether the other 3 will focus on other Vocaloids and Miku adjacent properties, but the writing's on the wall. Hatsune Miku sells even for people who didn't really love the artwork. They love Miku so much that that went right out the door. But none of the other Secret Lairs sold out with the exception of one. The Thunder Junction Showcase Foil Edition sold out, but it took over 3 weeks for that to happen. And by the time the Secret Lair Super Drop ended its sale, happened yesterday. Yesterday was the last day. It turns out those are the only 2 that sold out. So all this other stuff, the Goblin Gram, the Comic Sans, the really disparate, insane Secret Lairs, they all just flopped. And the regular Thunder Junction Showcase didn't sell out either. I suspect they made fewer of the foil ones, and that's why it sold out, but that kind of information is impossible to confirm. Going forwards, I expect that Wizards is going to up the amount of Miku Secret Lairs for the next drop. Why wouldn't they? But then the other ones, they just have a surplus of. Now, understand that because these aren't print to demand, this isn't going to spike the value of the existing cards. So the Lord of the Rings Secret Lair was one where people just went, no, this is terrible. These are just like screenshots from the show. You've misprinted them. This is awful. So it didn't sell very well, but it was print to demand. So not very many were made. And as a result, the secondary market of those singles is pretty high, right? That's just the way things go. But for these Secret Lairs, Wizards already printed them all, which means all of these extra Secret Lairs are going to end up somewhere. They're going to be in prize walls. They're going to be sold to LGSs or like distributed through Hasbro Pulse. They're going to make their way out there, which means the few people who did buy the Secret Lairs aren't going to benefit from a scarce supply of them. Wizards is just going to funnel dump the rest of it. So Secret Lair is on really shaky ground right now. There was only one banger Secret Lair from the last drop, and it essentially had nothing to do with Magic. They could have printed garbled nonsense on those Miku cards. Miku fans are rabid, bro. So that is the only reason those sales were guaranteed. And unfortunately, that is going to lean Wizards more into Universe Beyond and properties outside of Magic when the data says, hey, you know, when we look at the Secret Lairs, it looks like the only thing that really sold was a non-Magic IP. Yeah, Thunder Junction did, but they're not going to count that as a win when they want you rushing in and clearing them out. And it took 3 weeks to get rid of Thunder Junction. So the Secret Lairs are on really, really shaky ground right now. Now, let's talk about Modern Horizons 3's issues. These are quality issues, which is insane. Modern Horizons 3 is the most expensive set that Wizards of the Coast has released so far, soon to be trumped by the next Modern set they release, because there's a formula to this where every single time the price goes up. And that's because Wizards hasn't found the ceiling of what people are willing to pay for. Commander Masters as a reprint set helped them find the ceiling for stuff like that, because it was roundly rejected at its price point. So for them to go with full reprint sets, they're going to have to tailor the price point a little. Magic 30 also showed them that they can't sell 4 booster packs for $1,000, right? So somewhere in between those 2 points is where you find the price point that Wizards is like, they're just searching for the ceiling. They want to figure out the most that people are willing to pay for a product before they bulk, and then Wizards is stuck with a bunch of junk, right? So Modern Horizons 3 very clearly is selling in a way where they haven't found people's too much price threshold. But the card quality in this set is abysmal. And this used to just be a problem that was limited to North American printings, where the card quality was just genuinely awful there. But it's moved in to the Japanese stuff as well. I actually opened both Japanese and American Modern Horizons 3, and by that I mean printed in Japan and America, not that the cards were non-English, right? So I did a live stream where I opened the Japanese stuff first, and then I did a live stream yesterday where I opened up a Modern Horizons 3 pre-release kit. So if you want to see either of those and hear me talk more in depth about the quality and show the stuff off, I will leave a link down in the comment section for you to go ahead and check out my live stream archive channel where all that stuff is available. But to summarize, the American card quality is even worse than ever. You can literally hear it when you're flipping through the cards. The sound the cards make. People are saying, bro, it sounds gritty through the actual mic. I took the Japanese printed and the North American printed and flipped through them. And the American printed, you can almost hear them scraping across each other. And there was so much stuff built up on my fingers afterwards, printing chemicals, residue, whatever it was, that I literally had to go and wash my hands, because just moving the cards around made me feel like stuff was caking up on my fingers. And I literally only opened a pre-release kit with 6 packs in it. So it blows my mind that Wizards of the Coast is charging these crazy prices but not worrying at all about card quality. And the card quality issues persist with the Japanese printings, when Japanese used to be the like gold standard of getting good quality cards. Now, a bunch of the Japanese cards seem okay, but there's intermittent rares where just touching the card you can feel how awful they are. And for some reason as well, the double-faced cards are thicker in the Japanese printing. So you feel it and you're literally like, yo, like I can feel the difference. So I compared them, the North American and the Japanese printed ones. And the North American double-faced cards aren't as thick, but they do have that horrible grittiness issue. So it appears that Magic the Gathering's card quality is still on the decline. I don't understand how it can get worse. Like, what is the plan here? To just print as much as humanly possible, not worry about changing the blades. If you look at the foils, the edges are all chipped up. It looks like somebody took the card and banged the edges all around. Like, this is just... These are supposed to be the premium cards. On top of that, the foils from all the packs are warping, and in different ways. The Japanese foils came out warped. They're all curled, right? And then when I was opening the North American packs, at first I was like, oh, wait, no, look, this seems straight. And then I looked and I was like, oh, wait, no, it's warped in 2 different new ways. So if you want to see that contrast and compare, again, head on over to my live stream archive where you can see all of that in its unfortunate unglory. So Modern Horizons 3 is definitely a buyer beware in terms of the card quality. I don't know if further down the road the printing will get better. I assume it won't. I don't believe this is just a side effect of the initial waves of them trying to get it out. Wizards of the Coast is running at a breakneck pace, printing essentially an infinite amount of cards. And Modern Horizons 3, just so you know, is going to take the same trajectory as Modern Horizons 2 in terms of print runs. So they're going to print it for like the next 2 years. So when it comes to the value of the cards in the packs, you're going to see a big drop once you have the initial release, right? Now they're sitting at pre-release prices, and people will get hyped about getting a card going, oh, check it out, I got a medallion, this is a big value card, but the amount that they're printing, the time that they're printing it for, the extra supply entering the market when this was already reprinted in Commander Masters equals it's going to be very unlikely for it to maintain or exceed its pre-release prices, and it's very likely that they're just going to drum downwards, right? Because Wizards really has been hitting the reprints very heavily. And actually, on a side note, in relation to the secret layer super drops and stuff like that, that's something those are suffering from. Wizards gets really greedy with its reprint equity, where they go, you know, we're going to reprint this card, we'll reprint it in a secret layer, and then pretty much reprint it immediately afterwards in an upcoming set in their side reprints, like the big score for Thunder Junction, things like that, right? Where they just go, here you go, here's a reprint we just did in a secret layer, we fooled you into thinking, hey, you're getting a high value card, but we just tank the market. They pay way too much attention to secondary market values and try to manipulate them way too much in the current era of Magic. So that is a big problem. Anyways, the overall warning for Modern Horizons 3 is that the card quality is bad, right? So what's the next item on the list that we need to talk about? We've talked about the secret layers, we've talked about the bonus cards. The AI, leaning more into AI. Wizards of the Coast has just put out a job posting for a principal AI engineer. Now, this is somebody who's supposed to be the big daddy of AI. They're supposed to have a whole bunch of experience with AI and leading teams, being the overall architect. So they're going to be creating essentially AI tool libraries for people to use. And there's a number of different things that they're going to be responsible for generating through AI. And obviously, when it comes to Magic, particular things jump out from the description. It says it's specifically going to be used to generate text and art, right? So when you look at that, you could say, hey, they're just going to do this with their video games and stuff like that. But when you look at the job posting on the website, what Wizards does, obviously they want to advertise themselves to prospective employees, right? So they say, hey, we're the guys who make Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. So it's tied right in there. I mean, I feel like it's only a matter of time before they're going to try and make essentially AI dungeon masters for people to use. So that's a given. And it might just turn out that for the time being, all this AI stuff is really just going to be used in video games, because I think there's too much scrutiny currently on Wizards of the Coast, especially around AI artwork, where they're not going to feel comfortable rolling it out yet. They've come out and made multiple statements to us saying, hey, we really respect human artists and we really respect their work, and, you know, we won't let them use AI for their finalized products. Part of that boils down to the fact that Wizards can't copyright it. But remember, Wizards doesn't pay very well when it comes to their artists and stuff like that. They just begrudgingly raised the rates on the art, and it's still way lower than other industry leaders are paying. So Wizards of the Coast is keen to reduce art costs. Another indicator in that way is if you take a look at Markov Manor, you take a look at Thunder Junction and Modern Horizons 3, those all heavily use slush art, which is art Wizards of the Coast already has kicking around that they paid for but hadn't used yet. Modern Horizons 3, as far as I'm concerned, is the only acceptable place for stuff like that. It didn't work in Markov Manor, it didn't work in Thunder Junction, but Modern Horizons 3 is a set where it draws on all of Magic's history, all of Magic's worlds, and all of the entire timeline. So you can take artwork that wouldn't fit on any other world, the same way that all those fedora-wearing detectives did not fit in Ravnik at all, and the flavor was just terrible, right? So they can take those cards and have them as individual pieces, because Modern Horizons 3 doesn't have a story or a world that it needs to serve. So I'm not against the use of slush art when it makes sense, and sets like this that are just big, crazy, we're going all over the place, putting stuff out for Modern, putting stuff out for Commander, it's a great place to use slush art. But the fact that they've used so much of it for Markov Manor and Thunder Junction really speaks strongly to the fact that they're doing like a clearance. Get it all out of the pipeline, because we will be moving into more AI, right? But again, like I said, Wizards of the Coast has gotten a lot of pushback from Magic. They haven't been making the same declarative statements about AI for their video games or anything like that, right? And clearly, from the items that are listed in the job description, it's the highest ranking item on the list as far as I'm concerned. They're bringing this in for is for video games. But as this saves them money, there's no reason for them not to turn around, start to include more and more, right? And they also have told us that they're only going to talk about catching people using AI art when they feel like it's in the best interests of the public. And but they're going to take the privacy concerns of artists into account. And it's like, if they gave you AI art and broke whatever, why are you worried about their privacy? It's more along the lines of Wizards is saying, catch us if you can. When AI gets good enough, we're not going to tell you, and there's nothing you can do. So we're not there yet, but we will get there as far as I'm concerned. Now, let's talk about GameStop. You might not have heard that GameStop is moving into dealing with Magic the Gathering cards. So they made an announcement saying they were going to buy up PSA graded cards of it's 8, 9s, and 10s. It might be 7s as well, but they're taking the higher grades for PSA cards. It's not just Magic the Gathering. They have Pokemon and other things like that as well. If it's a leading card game that they think they can make money on, they'll buy graded cards only from PSA and only for under $500. And so on top of this, apparently they're moving full on into single sales because there are pictures circulating of card trays with tons of cards in them. But when you look at the images, all the cards are like complete bulk garbage. The worst rares imaginable. We're talking like 15-cent rares, but they're essentially selling them all like it's $1 a card. So I suppose for people who don't really care what they're paying and just want to go in and do a little bit of window browsing, all right, you can pick up individual singles of, oh, this will be fun in my commander deck. It might actually work out for them in this more commander-fied era of Magic, where Magic is becoming more of a, it's almost like a board game that you play casually with like 3 other friends, right? You take your time and chat. It's not about winning the same way. Like Commander has fundamentally, at least Wizards leaning into Commander so much, has fundamentally altered the nature of Magic the Gathering. So they might do okay with those individual singles. But when it comes to the slabbed stuff, take a look at this. This slab right here on the screen. This is a graded 10 Samwise the Stout-Hearted, okay? Now, this is one of those scene cards, but if you're not aware, and maybe you do notice, or you're going, wait, that's the promo they included with the bundle. Like, they included 4 promos with the bundle. One of the promos was the One Ring. So people buying that bundle legitimately ended up ahead because they could sell the One Ring for more than the cost of the bundle, because the One Ring was super powerhouse and it spiked everything. And as a result, the other promos in the bundle are worthless. But on top of that, this is just an uncommon from the main set, right? This isn't something you can only get in a bundle. You can only get this particular artwork in a bundle. And if you go and look at number of different game stores, you can find it ranging in price from as cheap as 10 cents to buy the foil version of this, the exact one you see in the slab, 10 cents, all the way up to the most expensive stores charging a whopping 50 cents. But GameStop wants $120 for this. They're trying to charge $120 for a worthless uncommon, right? So it remains to be seen how much they're actually paying for these things. Because if they're paying, the numbers that I saw said they were paying up to 70% of the value of a card. Now, you can argue and say, look, man, it's a graded 10. And 10 grades are hard to get. That's true. That is true. But there is no way on earth that a graded 10 multiplier equals going from 50 cents, which is literally the most expensive copy I could find anywhere, right? 50 cents to $120, right? Like a 10 times multiplier would take it to $5. 100 times multiplier would take it to $50. So we're talking over a 200 times modifier on a card that is not difficult to acquire at all, because it's a PSA 10, like, who is this going to sell to? Somebody's grandma who walks into a GameStop and is like, my Bailey likes Magic cards and Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to buy him this Samwise. I don't see where the market for this is. GameStop is just burning money on this Magic stuff. They're lucky that they turned into a meme stock and people pumped a bunch of cash into them, because the choices they're making are wild. This is the most out of touch price I've ever seen for a slabbed card. And this is their initial foray. This is their first foot forward. They're not starting out small. They're swinging hard, and they're going to strike out with this one as far as I'm concerned. So that wraps up all of the news. If you want to see more about the card quality for Modern Horizons 3, you can go ahead and click on the link. I'll leave the link for the first stream that I did up here at the end of the video, and down in the comments I'll have the links for both of them. I'll be doing a live stream tonight over on my other YouTube channel if you want to come hang out, and that's it. So big thank you to all my patrons for supporting my channel, and I will see you all, my friends, in the next video.